Welcome to the Championship Mindset Podcast. Ever wonder what's happening inside an athlete's or anyone's head when everything is on the line? If you ever have thought that, you're in the right place. This show is for anyone that has learned that mindset is critical, and you got to want to control your mind and emotions to perform your best under any kind of pressure. Okay, today you're going to hear real stories, pick up tips, tools, insights you can use, when it matters most. And if it's your first time here, I'm Spencer Senn, a former athlete. My career ended overnight in an instant, losing my identity. The only thing that I knew, and it wrecked me until years later, the world's top mindset experts healed me. And not only healed me, they trained me. Now I upgrade minds with my I.G.O.A.T mental method, help install confidence, focus, grit, resilience, calm under any type of pressure. So athletes or anyone can really perform their best in sports and life. And I help athletes as young as 10 years old. Okay, build the mindset that sports isn't teaching anymore so they can thrive under pressure and be their best on the field and off. And this podcast supports that mission. And today's guest is proof you don't have to be 30 to have real game and real insight. He's just 20 years old, so we get to hear from the younger generation, born in London, now a college goalkeeper in Texas, chasing dreams of being pro. He's already set shutout records while most of us are still trying to figure out how to parallel park or which side of the car the gas cap goes on. So, Anthony, welcome to the show. Before we get deep into the mindset, tell us about that first time that you stepped between the goalposts and thought, yep, this is me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Um, so probably started even before I was telling you about the first team that I ever joined, but we'll get to that a bit later. But probably started when I was in primary school, so elementary school for you guys. This I don't remember too much. I just remember wanting to be different. So I see all these people, I see the way they behave, I see the way they play the game, and I just thought to myself, yeah, that ain't me. So I stuck myself in goal, start making saves, and it kind of went on from there.
All right. So you saw before you even started playing, you identified the goalkeeper's position, is what you're saying, and then from there, right? Um, you joined an organized team finally at the age of 12, later than a lot of kids, right? What made you
Yeah.
step in then and believe you could catch up or start at that age and really go for it and be yourself?
I think it's just trying to find those opportunities. Me and my parents have been trying to do that since I was probably 9, 10 years old. Problem was is that all the local teams around me were already full. They couldn't register any more players,
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't really want to travel that far. So I would still be training. I would still be going to goalkeeper camps and other football camps for that matter. And then suddenly, one of my local teams was needing players. My dad called up the coach and the coach said they are actually looking for a goalkeeper. And to be honest, I went to watch one of their games before joining the team. It wasn't particularly promising, but it was somewhere. You got to
Okay.
start somewhere. So one thing I also realized later on, especially now, is that sometimes as a goalkeeper, it's better to be on a weaker side so that you can get more reps and improve.
Mm. Okay, well that's a great way to look at it. I haven't thought of it that way before, but yeah, I suppose if you're not on the best team, there's going to be a lot more shots, which gives you the opportunity to start development and be under fire immediately, right?
Yeah, definitely.
That's a huge mindset shift in itself. And honestly, if somebody could apply that just to not only their sport but anything in life right now, look for a positive and leverage it and insert it in there for your goal, for your what was important to you. Awesome. So as far as, you grew up in London playing London football, soccer here, right? Culture, uh, and I can only imagine, and we talked about this a little bit beforehand, that the culture from there and then jumping into college ball in Texas. First of all, how did you decide to come to Texas? And how did you make that whole transition? What happened there?
Yeah, so my original plan was to move up north to north of England, so Leeds or Nottingham. Those are some of the universities that I was thinking about. And then also Queen's University in Belfast. That was another one I was looking at.
Okay.
But then during the summer before my last year of high school, I met somebody at work who was currently in the US, or not in the US, but she was back in the UK for the summer. And she was telling me about the opportunity of going over there, getting a scholarship to
Yeah.
play. And I started looking into that a bit more. And I saw that there was open tryouts for a recruiting agency close to where I was. When I went there, didn't really think much of it. I just did what I needed to do. And I actually performed really well because of that. So it's not like you don't care, but you just say like, if nothing happens out of it, it's not a problem. Um, they selected me, went through all of that. I actually spent my freshman year over at Indiana Tech, so NAIA in Fort Wayne, Indiana. They well, when I was there, they were ranked number 19 in the nation,
Wow.
and then but right now they're ranked number 12, so even better.
Wow.
Crazy to think about it, but
Yeah.
then I just don't think it was for me the way they did things there, and so I decided to transfer to my current university. This is LeTourneau University, which is a D3 in Longview, Texas. You guys can say LETU for short because it is an interesting name. I was thinking about how to pronounce it first before somebody told me how to say it.
Right.
Um,
Me too.
but yeah, I went there, and yeah, I've been continuing to learn, continuing to improve. I think the best thing about it is that you also have a environment that you can thrive in outside of football. I think that's been one of the keys for me to having a good time here. And that brings me to where I am right now.
So can you give us an example of like what you just said, away from soccer, away from the sport? Give an example of how to get away from it and the importance of that.
So, for example, my roommate, my suite mates, and some of the other friends I have on campus, none of them know anything about football. They they don't really know that much. And that
Okay.
can be a good thing because that gives me the opportunity to switch off from football when I'm not training or when I'm not in a gym session, when I'm not at a game, so that when I do return to that environment, I have more energy to focus on performing well on the football pitch.
Okay. So in a sense, it's like taking one hat off, putting it down, going, okay, I need to move in this direction to kind of reset, re-energize, all of that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah, and I
it
see.
also, yeah, go on.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So it also gives you that opportunity to explore different interests. Don't know anyone personally, but I've heard of a lot of stories where foreigners come to the US to study and to play football, but then midway through their education, they realize actually football's not really for me. I want to pursue something else in life. And that's completely okay because it's all about finding what works best for you and what you enjoy doing the most.
Yeah, for sure. And what you're talking about, I see it almost every day. Um, and coaching again, I see it with kids, where literally just had a parent complaining in the stands about, I have to go from this game to the tomorrow this practice, and then I got to pay for this, and then they're doing this, and they're driving the kids so much that there isn't any of that let's take this hat off here and let's be a kid. Let's take a
Mm.
break. Let's rest. Let's re-energize. It's like go, 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 go. And as you and I were talking about when we met, the culture is so driven today by the adults for kids to get into these systems, into being an athlete, and then just go for whatever the motivation is. And kids are losing that. They're losing the ability to be kids. They're losing the ability to make open-minded choices, like what you said, to figure out what is for you and what is not. In fact, I asked one of the players, "Hey, what is your favorite sport?" She said, "Swimming." And I said, "What about baseball?" I don't really like baseball. Well, guess what? We were on the baseball field when I asked that question, so I think that's a good point because it touches on different things. Now, when you came from there's a culture in London, right? There's a culture in Texas. There's a culture in Indiana. You shared with me that summers you went to your grandmother's. That's a different culture, right? How have you been able to give us a snapshot of that? How did you navigate all of those? Because you learned a massive amount of information, but you had to adapt and adjust to every culture that you inserted yourself into.
Yeah, so just for the context of the views, my grandma lived in Belarus and had to speak Russian when I go there. I'm fluent in Russian. And from the age of
Wow.
4 till 10, I would spend my entire summer over there. And to
Okay.
be honest, I didn't really think about that much at the time which environment I was in because, well, you're a child. You're too
Sure.
young to really understand the concept of how different environments affect you,
Sure. But you
unless
learned
you
a lot,
become.
right?
Yeah, I learned a lot, but that's only something you realize later on. You don't
Yeah.
realize it in the moment. Like, for example, just this last summer, I was playing for Berber City. It's a semi-professional team in Chicago. I was
Hmm.
playing for them during the summer. I kind of realized it then, but again, different environment to what I'm in Texas. I kind of realized it then, but I'm really realizing it now. I really enjoyed it over there. I learned a lot of things. I was playing at a good level,
Yeah.
even higher than what my university here in Texas plays at. And overall, it was just a really good experience. And so it's all about taking those different environments into account and using that to shape the person that you are and the person that you want to be in the future.
Yeah, for sure. Something I've learned in my life. It's not about the journey, it's about the journey you're on, how you do it, move through it, and who you become on that journey. So true. Um, everyone hits new locker room moments, new schools, new jobs, new teams, all of that. The way you adapted, really, is there anything in there that you can share with people that they can apply to their own life right now, whether they're an athlete or not? How you adapted to those cultures and those changes?
It's all about being open, just
Okay.
seeing what they have to offer, trying to adapt to it whilst also not changing too much of the person that you are. Because if you end up trying to become the environment that you're in, especially if it's not a good environment for you, and you
Yeah.
realize that further down the line, you're going to become that person that hangs around that terrible environment. And you don't really want that because you don't want to lose your own identity,
Yeah.
the best version of yourself.
So
So
true.
it's all about just experimenting. Sometimes you'll get it right, sometimes you'll get it wrong.
So in the past, you've experienced that, right? Where you're like, maybe this isn't working for me. Maybe,
Yeah,
maybe you can share some of those situations so people can really relate um,
yeah,
to what you're
definitely.
saying.
I mean, I think when I look back at Indiana Tech, like, I don't think the environment suited me that much. I mean, yes, wasn't necessarily anything against them. It
Hmm.
was just, again, like we talked about before, being in a square peg in a round hole, if you guys know that analogy. It's just not quite fitting in. Am I
And
fitting in
how
into
did you determine that? How did you determine it? It was a square peg trying to go in a round hole. I mean, was it senses? Was it feeling? Was it interaction or all of them?
I think it was a bit of all of them. And I mean, if I have a look at now with my current team, like, am I suited to that environment? I'm still trying to find out, and we'll see what happens in the future. But one thing I do want to use this opportunity to demonstrate is that if you're in an environment that doesn't work for you, and you've done everything you can to try and adapt to that environment with no success, then there's no shame in whatsoever in moving on. It's not quitting, as some people like to say, oh, this guy quit, he doesn't want to put in the hard work, or he doesn't want to try. It's not that at all, and it's a very common misconception. It's instead showing self-awareness, self-respect, to seek the right place for you that can help you fulfill the purposes that you have been created for. And this doesn't just go into sport, this goes into other areas of life. So most people would be looking to go into the workplace, maybe they'll have a 9 to 5. Same thing then. If you find the environment is not right for you and you find that there's no opportunities to grow your professional profile, there's no shame whatsoever in moving on. It doesn't matter how high profile the place you are at, it doesn't matter um, how reputable they are, how big they are. It doesn't matter. If it doesn't work for you, you got to get out. Because especially if we're talking about in sport, and if you want to pursue a career in that sport, playing, life is short, and therefore your career is going to be even shorter. So you want to be wasting as less years of your life as possible stuck in environments that you know you're not going to grow and you know you're not going to enjoy.
For sure. Very well said, man. Boy, 20 years old. My gosh. If I had, so you're the age, right, when all my life spiraled out of control. Drugs, alcohol, addiction, relations, career, everything went haywire for years. And until I was given back control of my mindset. But what you're talking about, I'm also for you sounds it seems like to me that you use things like positive self-talk, internal dialogue, right? What are some of the things that you say to yourself inside your head to keep you focused and moving forward, because being open-minded, and you said it before, not thinking too much and moving forward, keep going. What type of things do you leverage as mindset tools?
It's just all about zooming out and looking at everything at once.
Okay, so
Because,
disassociating.
yeah,
Here's
yeah,
this. I'm in it. I'm coming out. Now I'm going to look at it and I'm going to see it from a different angle. And then, right? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, context matters. And to be fair, that is something I need to improve on. In the moment, it can get quite heated, it can get quite emotional, but then once you leave that scenario and you calm down a bit, you actually realize it wasn't as bad as I thought. I feel like that sometimes in my training sessions. In the moment, I'm thinking, crap, this is going horrible for me. But then after the training session, maybe the next day, I look back at it, especially if the training session is recorded, I look back at it and think, actually, it wasn't so bad.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're all our own worst critics, right?
Yeah,
So toning that down and turning it into a positive, reframing it is huge. And I teach that to every client that I work with. It's just part of what they get. But so I mean, like in goalkeeping, man, it's pressure. It's like pressure on steroids. I played soccer, but I was a midfielder. I didn't play goalie. I just wasn't interested in it because every save or slip is magnified, right? What's been one of your toughest mental lows, and how did you climb out of it when you were in that situation?
ooh, that was a few. It was probably probably my second to last year of high school. I was playing for a team, and for the majority of that season, so our season runs from September until May. For the
Okay.
majority of that season, I couldn't go a single game without making a mistake. It was just I didn't know what was happening. So that was super, super tough um, to deal with. I could
Not
probably
making
even,
any mistakes.
um, yeah, but it was like happening constantly.
Okay.
I can probably even one up that actually. I've just thought of another one.
Okay.
Was that local team I was talking about, the one I joined when I was 12.
Sure.
I left that team at 16 because I felt like I needed a bigger challenge. I felt like I needed to be pushed a bit more. I contacted a youth team of a semi-professional team. I was looking to play for their under 16s, U16.
Okay.
But the U16s already had a goalkeeper, but the U18s were looking for a goalkeeper. So they put me with the U18s. Now, just for context, their U16 team plays 5 leagues above the local team I was playing for.
Whoa.
So there was that. And then they were also putting me in an age group above, 2 age groups above, actually. And man, that was tough. I mean, yeah, I had some definitely good moments, but everything was so much quicker. You were getting closed down on the ball a lot quicker. You were expected to make decisions. Everything was just sped up and it was super difficult. Yeah. But that kind of stepping stone was actually necessary for me to then push on and try and play at the levels that I am. Because I knew that if I stayed with my local team, I wouldn't have improved nearly as much. No disrespect to them, obviously, but that's
Yeah.
just how it was and the level they were playing at.
Yeah, for sure. Wow, man. I mean, just all the stuff that we're talking about already that you've been through and where and how and the situations and then pressure. And then reminding all of us that push yourself, go for more challenge. Because the truth of it is, whether we're an athlete or not, if we insert ourselves into into competition and challenges that are far greater than where we're at, that's how we get better. Okay, it's like kids. Last night on our team, we played a team way better than us. Okay, they lost, but they got better just playing that better team, regardless of winning or losing. They're up leveled more. So going like you sound like you went from here to 6 times higher, 7 times higher, right? So
Yeah,
you
it was
were
a
you were
huge jump.
well, pressure creates diamonds, right?
Yeah,
So, and then like you and I were talking about, we've both been in this situation where the politics, the what you're going through personally to achieve, get better, manage all your mindset, get all of that stuff, and then being in these other cultures that aren't necessarily, I mean, because there's always a lot going on, right? And some of it's toxic. And how did you keep your unique individuality strong? Because you said earlier that we've got to keep our own individuality or something to that effect. You said.
it's all about looking at what other people are going through as well and realizing that this isn't just you that is stuck in this situation. And you can even seek advice from those people as well, especially older people, people who've played longer. Um, like I know somebody that has played professionally in Australia and Spain and is now playing in England right now. And he's been telling me all kinds of stories about how the footballing system works in different countries and all of that kind of aspects. And it's just recognizing that it doesn't reflect who you are and it doesn't reflect what you're trying to become. And yeah, it's unfortunate sometimes to be in that situation. That I'll be really honest to say the previous head coach that we had at LeTourneau here in Texas, I did not get well with him at all. I just didn't have a good relationship with him, and it happens.
Right. It happens a lot.
You're not gonna be able to get along with everyone. Sometimes you don't want it to happen, but sometimes you still try and respect that person. You still try and get along well with him, but sometimes even that doesn't work out. And I definitely felt that way with him. Yeah, you just got to recognize that this doesn't reflect who I am. I have my ideas, and if I've got my ideas, I'm going to stay true to them, especially if it concerns my identity.
Yeah.
And somebody wants to disagree with that, that's their problem, not mine.
Yeah. So how did you manage that situation? Because obviously it's unwanted. You're in it, and there's a beginning and an end to it, right? And the beautiful thing in life is everything changes. So, I mean, did you just let the process happen, or was there anything specific you did for yourself to manage it?
Me and the other goalkeepers very briefly spoke about it with the assistant coach. I remember one session we had where the assistant coach was asking us for feedback, how we can improve the sessions.
Yeah.
It's routine stuff.
Sure. Good.
And we brought up a particular argument I had with my old head coach then. And yeah, we were just discussing that. I did want to speak to a couple other people about it, but then it came as a shock. Nobody was expecting it to happen. The head coach announced that he was going to leave at the
Hmm.
end of the spring semester last spring. And so then I realized, well, he's going to leave. So there's no point in doing anything because we're going to get somebody new next season anyway.
Yeah.
We have a new head coach now. I've got a good relationship with him. I mean, yeah, sure, I'm not playing or anything like that. I'm fourth choice goalkeeper.
Okay.
But nevertheless, I can at least respect him. I can at least appreciate what he's trying to do because he puts a lot of effort in. And yeah, it just goes to show how different relationships you have with different people. Different people have different opinions on you, and there's not much you can do about it.
Yeah. So just kind of shrug it off and keep going. And like you said, routine. Okay. It's routine, right? But unfortunately, it's not routine. I mean, it's routine for what you've experienced, it sounds like. But, one of the challenges that I'm working on with coaches right now is communication, being connected to their players, being open minded, being willing to change things, not sit back and go, I'm the coach and we're going to only do it this way. Communicate, get feedback, not only with kids but parents and everything, because that is what really creates that culture. And it sounds like when the one coach left, the other one came in, it improved the culture for you,
Yeah,
because it sounds like there was some level of communication, and then it shifted. Like we said, everything changes. So I encourage all coaches, anybody, any parents, anybody listening to this, be open-minded, communicate, create that connection with your child, with that athlete, whatever, and help them keep their open mind and be their true self. Good stuff, man. I mean, that's where people begin to thrive, and then they have direction. And when you have direction, purpose starts to unfold, right?
yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. The coach can definitely impact the environment a lot. And I felt like my team right now, the new head coach came in and the environment did get better.
Yeah, for sure. So, you've talked about leaning on friends, and I know professors too in our previous conversation, mentors, also your faith. How have those support systems, especially faith, help you make those tough calls, those changes, those decisions, and push through those hard seasons? Seasons meaning not just the seasons in sports.
Yeah, the funny thing is that, and even Christians, I don't think a lot of Christians realize this, but the Bible has all the answers. It's so strange to think about. And when I first found out about it, I couldn't quite wrap my head around it. I couldn't quite
Mhm.
believe it until I actually started reading it. It's like, don't worry about tomorrow because today will have its own struggles. I believe that's Matthew 6:33 or 34. What is for you will always find you, so don't chase things. That's Psalms 46:10, I believe. Don't quote me on any of these, by the way. I don't memorize these off by heart. um, but then things like that, it gives you the necessary steps, the necessary advice to proceed with certain situations, certain thought processes.
Yeah.
And that's helped me out a lot in terms of building my thought processes and systems that I have in place to deal with things like disappointment or when somebody wrongs you, how to forgive them. Because you got to forgive others because otherwise God won't forgive you. That is mentioned in quite a few places in the Bible. One of those places is in Ephesians. I can't remember the chapter, but anyway,
Yeah.
it's just all about using that and leaning on that understanding rather than your own. I just quoted another a quote right now.
It's
It
okay.
just happens. It just happens because I've built those thought processes in my head
Yeah.
based on what the Bible says, so that I have much more of an understanding of what to do in each scenario.
Yeah.
And then professors here helped out with me as well because LeTourneau University is a Christian university. It's a Christian polytechnic university. So
Okay.
most people here are Christ-centered, the professors in particular. So although I go to them mostly for academic questions, they help me out with that as well.
Awesome, man. Well, it sounds basically what I'm hearing is faith is foundational for you. Am I getting that right?
Yeah.
Same for me. And we talked about this, the Charlie Kirk thing that happened. I mean, I look at my life and I'm like, wow, I'm doing pretty good. And then when that happened, I'm like, I need to do so much better. And I need to lead with faith and not preach, not come at people about it. In fact, I had a conversation yesterday, someone that didn't believe, and I said, the only thing I'm going to say is I'll pray for you. That's it. No convincing, whatever. And that foundation, I mean, we need a foundation. If it's not faith, what is it? If it's not God, what is it? You got to figure out a foundation that's good with good purpose and intentions. And for some people I work with, that's just mindset, right? For me, it's the foundation of championship mindset founded on faith, right? But we still, God gave us, if you don't believe in God, you still have a brain, you still have a unconscious mind that we really, to be our best and do our best in life and contribute the best to the world, we have to have the ability to control our mindset and manage our emotional states to move through and experience all the things that, like you're talking about in your life. So I
Mm.
commend you, man. 20 years old, you have a lot of wisdom. That's awesome. I love it. And anyone can start building foundations at any time or changing them in their life, and get help, friends, family, mentors, allies, whatever. Carry them through into your own pressure moments. And so, if you could talk to your 12-year-old self, or your parents, or coaches that guided you, what's your no filter advice about mindset and thriving under pressure?
Good question. Really good question. I haven't quite figured that bit out myself. I'll be the
Okay,
first to put my hands up and say that.
that's
Uh,
okay. That's good.
yeah, you're not gonna have all the answers, I guess. um, let's see what I would say. I would say definitely to have what helped me out most of all is to have other interests. Definitely, what we were speaking about before about potentially having friends that don't really know anything about football, so you can talk about other things, and then it's also exposing yourself to that pressurized environment as much as you can without overdoing it. So if I look back, I've probably tried out for, since I started playing, about 16, 17 different teams in the UK and the US.
Okay.
And so I've been exposed to that kind of scenario where you're going on trial for a particular team, or you're in any other situation where you need to perform. And the more I did it, the more relaxed I felt. The feelings still stayed. Nothing changes about how nervous you feel, or maybe even excitement. Sometimes you can't tell, but it's how you have those coping mechanisms that you can manage those emotions that help me out the most. And then you find the results, because last spring break, so mid-March, I went to Chicago for a week. I tried out for some teams that I could play for during the summer. 3 teams invited me to go on trial once I sent them my CV and my highlights video. All 3 of those teams offered me a spot.
Nice, dude. Congratulations.
And that just goes to show that you're leaning on God's understanding. You're also using that experience and using that exposure to that kind of environment where you need to perform to your advantage. Because when I was on trial with those teams, it just didn't feel like that much, because I was able to manage those emotions a lot better.
Nice. Excellent. An old coach of mine, very good coach, told me, when we have those feelings of nerves, anxiety, butterflies, get all the butterflies flying in the same direction. And when you put your mind to that focus, then you just move through. And it sounds like you did that, and you got invited onto 3 teams. That's awesome, man. Keep that up. And then we can use breathing, right?
Yeah.
Breathing techniques to control that stuff, visualization, positive self-talk. Those are other tools. So great insight, man. Not just for players, but for parents and coaches too, especially from somebody that's your age, 20 years old. Very good stuff. And all of us can choose today to build a stronger, healthier culture for the next generation. And we all are responsible to do that, right? So Anthony, it's been awesome, man. I love hearing your journey from London to pitches to Texas fields, and in the mindset shifts, whether you knew they were mindset shifts or not. It's that you've kept yourself going forward. So good job, man. Keep it up. So as far as if people want, where can people follow you and keep up with your story?
So if you search up my full name on LinkedIn and YouTube, you'll find my LinkedIn profile. You also find my YouTube channel, where I post all my highlights so you can see how I play. And then again, on TikTok, if you put my full name on there, you can find me on TikTok. I sometimes post there. I try to post more regularly, although with my schedule, it's not always possible.
Yeah.
But I do post whenever I can, just so that I can gain that exposure. And yeah, that's about it. If you want to follow along with my football career, that's where you'd find me best.
Awesome, man. And I appreciate you skipping class today to be on here. Good
I mean,
stuff.
did I skip class? Actually, I don't have class, do I?
Oh, I thought you did.
No, it got cancelled. But
Oh,
I'll tell you about that a bit later. It
yeah, yeah,
was
yeah. No
very
worries.
last notice.
Yeah, no worries. And to everyone tuning in, thanks for being here live or on replay. Um, and your unconscious mind is the software running everything. Keep that in mind. After all, I mean, you upgrade your phone, right, and your computer. So why keep running old mental programs, old codes that you picked up from other people and past experiences? It's time to clear out that stuff and unlock your own code to greatness. And that's why I remind you, I recreated the I.G.O.A.T mental method. And I start with athletes as young as 10 years old to help them build their identity, confidence, focus, resilience, all the stuff that we're talking about so they can thrive under pressure in sports and life. And if you or your young athlete are ready for that upgrade, go to freedomandhealing.com and schedule a free discovery call, and we'll talk through it. And if this episode touched you, helped you, subscribe on YouTube, like, comment, share, all that fun stuff. Some of probably needs this reboot. So until next time, keep your head clear, your heart strong, and your software upgraded. See you soon.